So, first of all, what is anemia? Anemia is defined as a clinical condition due to reduced oxygen delivery to tissues as a result of a reduction in the number of red cells and or reduction in the blood concentration of hemoglobin below the level that is expected for healthy person of same age and sex. Here age and sex is important because the concentration of hemoglobin varies in men and women. Okay, this is anemia. Now, WHO definition of anemia is less than 13 gram per dl in men and less than 12 gram per dl in women. Now, before going to microcytic anemias, you need to know the red blood cell indices. So, you have to know MCV, which is hematocrit into 10 divided by red blood cell count. The normal value is generally 90 plus minus 8 FL. Mean corpuscular hemoglobin, that is hemoglobin into 10 divided by red blood cell count, that is normally 30 plus minus 3 picogram. And mean cell hemoglobin concentration or MCHC, that is hemoglobin into 10 divided by hematocrit or MCH by MCV. The normal value is 33 plus minus 2%. So you have to remember these normal values, otherwise you cannot classify anemia. So hemoglobin concentration, hemoglobin and hematocrit, these two things varies according to age, sex and whether the person is pregnant or not, and in case of adult women, whether she is menstruating or not. So at birth, the hemoglobin level remains high. It is around 17 gram per dl and hematocrit is around 52%. Childhood, it reduces gradually. In childhood, it's 12 and hematocrit is 36. Adolescence is 13 and hematocrit is 40. Adult men is 16 plus minus 2 and hematocrit is 47 plus minus 6. Adult menstruating women is 13 plus minus 2 and hematocrit is 40 plus minus 6. Postmenopausal women is 14 plus minus 2 and hematocrit is 42 plus minus 6. And during pregnancy, hemoglobin is 12 plus minus 2 and hematocrit is 37 plus minus 6. So, this is the variation according to age, sex and pregnancy of the patient. Now, classification of microcytic hypochromic anemias. So, microcytosis means MCV less than 80 FL. This is microcytosis. This is the normal WBC, the normal RBC. The inside 1/3 pallor and the hemoglobin rim outside. There are 4 main causes of microcytosis: iron deficiency, hemoglobinopathies, inflammation and other rare causes. In iron deficiency anemia, you also find low MCHC and the cell will look like this. The inside 1/3 pallor will increase and there will be a rim of hemoglobin outside. In hemoglobinopathies, there are thalassemia, both alpha and beta thalassemia will cause microcytosis, HBC disease and HBE disease. You don't have to go through all these things. Okay, just remember HBC disease and HBE disease. They cause microcytosis. In thalassemia, you have to remember alpha thalassemia and beta thalassemia. In inflammation, in 20% of the cases, the anemia of chronic disease is microcytic hypochromic. And other rare causes are sideroblastic anemia. It is a congenital disorder, lead poisoning, hyperthyroidism, and fragmentation syndrome or microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. There you will get this type of cells, helmet cells, horn cells, and these are cystocytes. So this is the gross classification of microcytosis or microcytic RBCs. Then approach to diagnosis. When you get a patient having anemia, you first have to consider the age, duration, onset of the disease and subadjacent illness, history of blood loss like GI blood loss, menstrual blood loss, history of surgery, diet, what kind of diet he or she is taking, what kind of medication he or she is taking, any toxic exposure, occupational exposure, family history, social history. You have to take all this history. On examination, you have to do a complete examination including skin for jaundice and petechiae, abdominal examination for hepatosplenomegaly, lymph node examination if there is any lymph node enlargement or not, and rectal and pelvic examination. Then you have to do a complete blood count. Complete blood count means you have to do hemoglobin, total WBC, differential count of WBC, total RBC, hematocrit, platelet and the RBC indices and including RDW. You have to do a peripheral smear examination and you have to do a reticulocyte count. Now reticulocytes, you all know, reticulocytes are immature RBCs in which the RNA is still there, and you can do a reticulocyte count by supravital staining. And reticulocyte, you have to do is, you have to express it as percentage of immature RBC, and its normal is 0.5 to 1.5% for non-anemic patient. If it is less than 1%, then there is inadequate production of hemoglobin, and if it is more than 1%, then there is increased production of RBC. And correction for left shift. Why it is necessary? Retic lifespan is increased in blood. In that case, you have to do a reticulocyte production index. Reticulocyte production index into hematocrit by 45 into 1 by correction factor. This is the formula of finding out the reticulocyte production index. If the hematocrit is 40 to 45, the correction factor is 1. If it is 35 to 39, the correction factor is 1.5. If it is 25 to 34, the correction factor is 2. If it is 15 to 24, the correction factor is 2.5. You have to consider the hematocrit in this case. Normal reticulocyte production index is 1 for non-anemic patient. If the reticulocyte production index is less than 2, then it is hyperproliferative anemia, and if the reticulocyte production index is more than 2, it is hyperproliferative anemia. Hyperproliferative anemia can be seen in iron deficiency anemia, B12 folate deficiency anemia, anemia of chronic disease, sideroblastic anemia, aplastic anemia, and myeloproliferative disorders. And hyperproliferative anemia you will get in hemolytic disease or hemoglobinopathies. Okay, clear? Normal RBC morphology you all know. 7 to 9 microns, central 1/3 pallor, lifespan 110 to 120 days, about the size of a nucleus of normal lymphocytes. What do you mean by anisocytosis and poikilocytosis? Poikilocytosis is difference in the shape of the RBC, and anisocytosis is difference in the size of the RBC. Okay, these are the normal RBCs, and here it is compared with the nucleus of the lymphocyte and the RBC. They are almost of the same size. Spherocyte. What are spherocytes? In spherocytes, there is absence of central pallor. They are small and it is found in a condition called hereditary spherocytosis. And here it causes immune hemolytic anemia. So these cells are spherocytes. These are small cells with no central pallor. This is seen in hereditary spherocytosis. Microcytes, but no central pallor, and this is a familial condition, hereditary spherocytosis. Then target cells. Target cells you will find in hemoglobinopathies, a rim of RBC followed by a central pallor, then another dot of RBC, hemoglobin. So these cells are called target cells, like you target of bullets, like they look like these cells. A rim of hemoglobin outside, central pallor, then a rim of hemoglobin inside. These cells are found in hemoglobinopathies and like thalassemia and in liver diseases. So, how do you differentiate between these? The hematological indices, RBC morphology, the reticulocyte response, and other examinations as needed. Microcytic anemia, when you do the iron panel, iron deficiency anemia is the commonest cause of microcytic anemia. So when you do the iron panel done, so you will, what will get? In iron deficiency anemia, there will be decrease in serum iron, increase in TIBC, and decrease in ferritin. All these terms I shall explain in iron metabolism. In sideroblastic anemia, there is increase in serum iron, there is decrease in TIBC and increase in serum ferritin. In thalassemia, serum iron may be increased or normal, TIBC may be decreased or normal, and serum ferritin may be increased or normal. And in anemia of chronic disease, all serum iron and TIBC will be decreased, but serum ferritin will be increased. Now, iron deficiency anemia. Iron deficiency anemia is a hyperproliferative anemia. There will be low retic count. High RDW means high anisocytosis and poikilocytosis, and it may be due to chronic blood loss or dietary deficiency. Here you can see thin rim of hemoglobin outside and a big central pallor, and the shape of the cells are different. These cells are ovaloid, these are round. Each cell has a different shape and size. So that's why the RDW is high. So this is the blood picture of iron deficiency anemia. You can see the typical cells, just a thin rim of hemoglobin outside, and the rest is the central pallor. Now thalassemia. In thalassemia, reticulocyte production index is normal to increase. The RDW will be normal. In iron deficiency anemia, RDW will be increased, but in thalassemia, the RDW will be normal. There will be presence of target cells. Presence of target cells. These target cells you can see in thalassemia. And we have to confirm thalassemia by hemoglobin electrophoresis or HPLC. This is thalassemia. This is how the peripheral blood picture will look like. Now, alpha thalassemia and beta thalassemia. Alpha thalassemia is mostly found in Southeast Asia and Africa, whereas beta thalassemia is more common in the Mediterranean area. You know there are 4 genes for alpha, 4 genes for the alpha chain, and if these 4 genes all are normal, then it is normal patient, normal person. If 3 genes are normal and 1 gene is defective, then it, he or she is a silent carrier. If 2 genes are normal and 2 genes are defective, then he or she is a trait or mild alpha thalassemia. If 3 genes are abnormal and 1 gene is normal, then we call it HbH or hemoglobin BART. And in this case, you will get the hemolytic disease. And if all the 4 genes are abnormal, then you will get a stillborn fetus. It is known as hydrops fetalis. In for beta, you will get 2 genes for the beta chain. Beta thalassemia minor when one beta gene is defective, and there you will get increased HbA2 or HbF. And beta thalassemia major, all the 2 beta genes are defective, so there is severe failure to thrive and there will be significant rise in HbF. Then sideroblastic anemia. There is accumulation of mitochondrial iron in erythroblast. Here you can see the blue dots. These are the iron deposits. The red one is RBC, and the surrounding the blue dot, these depositions, these are the iron depositions. It can be due to hereditary cause and due to drugs like INH, lead, zinc, alcohol, chloramphenicol, cycloserine, Plavix. And we have to confirm this diagnosis by bone marrow. In bone marrow, you will find lots of these kinds of cells, RBC with these small deposits of irons. Anemia of chronic disease, you will get in infections like tuberculosis, subacute bacterial endocarditis, osteoarthritis, chronic UTI or fungal diseases, in malignancies like metastasis, leukemia, lymphoma, myeloma, and other chronic inflammatory disorders like rheumatoid arthritis, SLE, sarcoidosis, collagen vascular diseases, polymyalgia rheumatica, chronic hepatitis, decubitus ulcer. All these are causes of anemia of chronic disease. And in 20% of cases, you will get microcytic hypochromic anemia. So, this is a flow chart. Here it is written how to approach a case of anemia. If you get microcytic picture, you have to do the iron panel. If you get a normocytic anemia, you have to do the retic count. If it is low, you have to go for iron, B12 or folate assay. If it is normal, then you have to go for bone marrow biopsy and rule out chronic anemia of chronic disease. If the retic count is high, then you have to see occult blood loss, and if there is no occult blood loss, you have to do the Coombs test to exclude hemolytic anemia. And if microcytic blood picture, then you have to see the retic count. Again, if it is high, then you have to follow this one. And if it is low, you have to follow this one. This is a comprehensive chart showing the various kinds of anemia and their differential diagnosis. Now coming to iron metabolism. Iron is, you all know, is a micronutrient, and iron deficiency and iron excess both are deleterious for the health of the patient. Iron deficiency anemia is the most prevalent cause of anemia in India. About 65 to 75% of anemia is due to iron deficiency, and it affects the growth and both physical and mental growth of the fetus. So the distribution of iron in a 70 kg adult male. In transferrin, you will get 3 to 4 milligram of iron. Hemoglobin in red cells, you will get 2500 milligram of iron. In myoglobin and various other iron containing enzymes, you will get around 300 milligram iron. In iron stores like ferritin and hemosiderin, you will get around 1000 milligram of iron. And iron is absorbed at 1 milligram per day, and iron loss is also 1 milligram per day. In case of adult female who is menstruating, the iron store is 100 to 400 milligram, and iron loss is 1.5 to 2 milligram per day. So total body iron is 3 to 5 gram. Erythropoietic iron requirement is only 20 milligram per day. Absorption is appropriately attenuated by in dietary iron excess. Important homeostatic mechanisms prevent excessive iron absorption in duodenum and regulate the rate of iron release from reticuloendothelial system. And iron is toxic to human cells and essential for pathogens. So iron metabolism is a tightly regulated metabolism so that you don't get low iron or excessive iron is absorbed from the duodenum. So where will you get iron? Iron is present in two forms, in heme form, in three form. Heme containing proteins, non-heme iron containing proteins, and iron sulfur complexes. So what are the heme containing proteins? Hemoglobin, myoglobin, cytochromes, catalase, lactoperoxidase, nitrous oxide synthase. All these are enzymes, and hemoglobin, myoglobin, these are all heme containing proteins. In all these things, the iron is in heme iron. The non-heme iron containing proteins are aconites, phenyl hydroxylase, transferrin, ferritin, hemosiderin. Here the iron is stored in non-heme forms. And iron sulfur complexes is iron sulfur complex 3, succinate dehydrogenase, xanthine oxidase. These are also iron containing complexes, but here iron combines with sulfate. These are the three forms of iron present in our body. Now this is the iron metabolism. This picture is a very good picture. So the dietary iron, it is absorbed in Fe2 state, ferrous state. Ferrous state, it is absorbed by the intestinal epithelial cells. Then comes the enzyme ferroxidase, which converts into ferric iron, and it is incorporated in transferrin. This transferrin then goes to liver and forms ferritin. This transferrin then carries the iron to bone marrow, where the iron is utilized for erythropoiesis. And after erythropoiesis, the iron forms hemoglobin and it is incorporated in RBC. From RBC, after the lifespan of RBC is over, the hemoglobin breaks down and the iron is phagocytosed by the reticuloendothelial cells, and it is converted to again ferritin, then hemosiderin. And another part is converted to transferrin, which is excreted by skin desquamation, sweating via urine and via feces. And RBC iron is excreted in blood loss like bleeding and menstruation. And this transferrin, this also goes to cytochromes, iron containing enzymes and myoglobins to many tissues. And here is a loop. This ferritin again comes into the blood and contributes to blood ferritin. And from liver, the ferritin also comes via bile and it is again absorbed by the intestinal epithelial cells and then again converted to transferrin. So there are two cycles they are causing this loop kind of thing. The iron is coming from the liver and again getting absorbed in the liver, and then it is iron coming from the liver going to the intestinal epithelial cells and again coming into transferrin. So these two loops are playing here, and 10 to 15% of the dietary iron is absorbed, and this absorbed is increased by vitamin C. So this is the total process of iron metabolism. And what happens in the mucosal cell? In the mucosal columnar cell, the ferrous iron is directly absorbed and the ferric iron is not directly absorbed. It is absorbed via ferroreductase enzyme, which converts it to ferrous iron, and then it is absorbed and it remains in the ferritin, and then it is absorbed by transferrin in the capillary. So this is the iron absorption from the intestinal mucosal columnar cells. Intestinal absorption of iron, it occurs in the duodenum and it is regulated by apoferrin, which is within the mucosal cells. The heme iron is absorbed without any specific mechanism. The heme iron is easily absorbed and the non-heme iron is not readily absorbed, and vitamin C increases the uptake. The sources of iron are meat, liver, fish, eggs, green vegetables and cereals. And iron loss is daily 1 to 2 milligram iron loss by cell desquamation, menstruation, pregnancy, multiple birth, lactation and other form of bleeding. And iron is recycled from aged erythrocytes and transferrin receptors on cells. And iron is transported through transferrin by ferric iron, and only 1/3 of the saturated iron is transferrin iron. Unsaturated transferrin protects against infection. Lactoferrin, it binds iron in the milk and it is found in breast milk, and it has also got antimicrobial agent effect which protects the newborn from gastrointestinal infection. And haptoglobin, it binds to the hemoglobin in plasma. Generally hemoglobin is found within the RBC, but if it comes out in the plasma, then it gets bind to haptoglobin. And iron is stored in as ferritin and hemosiderin. And the main regulator of iron mechanism is hepcidin. It decreases the iron reabsorption from the intestine and decreases the iron concentration in plasma, and it causes it through ferroportin, and iron is trapped in the cell, and as the cell desquamates, the iron is expelled out, and the hepcidin concentration is increased in cases of inflammation, and there is reduced production in hereditary hemochromatosis. So this was iron metabolism and microcytic hypochromic anemia in gist. Everything is clear?